If you look through, and several presentations have been doing really good critical chain, you do not launch yourself into a critical chain until you found out how you're going to finish on time. And if you cannot find out how to finish on time, you have the courage to go to whoever it is, the client, the boss, or whatever, and say, I can't do it. Right? If you use that rule, you'll get everything you want out of critical chain. If you cheat on that rule, you won't really break away from where you are.
Can you repeat that?
Critical chain, if you start off, especially at the beginning, and you give the software all your tasks and ask it what's going to happen, you usually have a heart attack the first time. Well, no, there are two cases. Either it's a very nice answer, or you have a heart attack, about 50-50, right? I just came from a project where we're in a biotech company for one of the blockbusting products of biotech. The company's just been sold and bought up. While selling it, the owner said that this thing could be out in September of 2019, right? I've been doing all this thing for quite a while, so I realized that was probably a date that was given to me attractive when they sold the company, right? Anyway, we put the thing in, and yeah, they're finishing in September, okay, of 2020. Mr. Marris, but that's the truth. I mean, the critical chain is about being truthful about the durations, about the variabilities, about the risks, the uncertainties throughout the organization, and that's the beauty of it.
The day in life. This
DILO, yeah.
DILO.
We just go and see what they're doing.
But what is its main objective? Is it to reduce or to eliminate or to create?
DILO is nothing, it's just a measurement. We just watch somebody with a stopwatch and see how they spend their day.
Question. When you look at what you teach and what TOC teaches, it says we need to make money now and in the future.
Yeah.
One. And it says that if you approach in that manner, you are guaranteed revenue and you are guaranteed availability and all these things. But I'm asking from a South African context.
Yeah.
So most South African companies are challenged with TOC hates the concept that say you can do less with the anticipation to get more revenue. So get in your cost model, cut with the anticipation to get. TOC doesn't resonate well with that concept. And most South African companies, we are being asked to find more with less. It means less.
Don't worry, that's nothing specific to South Africa.
Oh, I've not.
The only people who are comfortable and in fact don't understand what we're talking about because it's so obvious are entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
For them, obviously their business is to grow, right? If you get to a company above 1,000 people, it's rare, and above 5,000 people, it doesn't exist anymore.
Sure.
All they're there to do is manage, right? And they've completely forgotten about growth. And they find excuses with the government, with the political situation, with China, whatever, to say the business can't be grown any further, and therefore, indeed, the only thing I can do in life is to be more and more efficient, and I fire people, right?
Sure.
And in fact, they fire people without improving, and we've had crazy cases where a company calls me back 10 years later and says, we now have half the workload we used to have, but we've got a bottleneck. Yeah, well, what have you done? Oh, we fired lots of people without really thinking.
Yes.
And they're in a mess. So don't worry, it's nothing to do specifically with South Africa. And if I can switch to that one, what people never understood about lean is that the good lean, the Toyota model, is a growth model. That's to say they always tried to have more increase in throughput than increase in productivity so that they could keep their permanent labor. It's not a process of downsizing using Japanese words. It's,
I guess I'm trying to say, how do we bridge the gap between, for instance, if I'm a director for continuous improvement or a head of department for whatever that it is, and I have to host what TOC.
I do it.
How do we begin to make sure?
I do it in two ways. One of them maybe slightly personal. You do something. You've got to get the foot in the door. but then you can run a pilot somewhere, right? Ensure that that pilot has extraordinary results, things that are not believable, those sorts of things, right? Okay, to wake them up to the potential that they have in their company, and then you come back to them and say, couldn't we be more ambitious? Couldn't we do this? Couldn't we do that? Right? Because, as been mentioned several times, one of the dangers of the theory of constraints is it's too powerful for its own good. And if you don't feed the machine that's going to become much more efficient, you're going to end up with not enough sales. And if all that efficiency is going to be attempting a downsizing occasion, right? So very early on, you have to think, what am I going to sell in 1 year or in 2 years' time? Because otherwise, you're going to ask everybody to get better and then say, oh, thank you very much, bye-bye, I'm just keeping these guys. And that's not going to work. That's number one. And number two is I don't know what I am anymore because I'm English. I consider myself European, but I have a British passport. So but I will anyway use a cricket bat analogy. The other thing I do is I wait for a quiet evening with the CEO, and I go in with a cricket bat and remind him that he's there to not just to make this company survive until he retires, but to try and get some nice results.
Philip, maybe just from a general point of view, the word throughput has been used throughout the discussions today,
Yep.
and throughput accounting.
Yep.
But at some point in time, the accounting mechanisms or the costing mechanisms that are used throughout the examples of all the organizations, it seems to be there's a general conflict between the activity-based cost accounting and the throughput accounting. How did you deal with that when dealing with these projects? Because that must have come up in the way we value, or the way you value work, or the way you value, or the way you measure your output.
It gets significantly in the way of in a production environment, and but not so much in projects. What you're going to be faced with is people who have earned value management, for instance, and that's quite easy to solve. That's to say, the critical chain will tell you how to do it. You can calculate the impact on earned value. And if you feel that you want to increase your earned value, you cheat, but you cheat to get more earned value, and you move tasks ahead. You desynchronize the system to make more earned value.
Yes.
It's stupid, but at least it gets you money, right? So no, we don't usually get many contradictions on with that. There are for a simple reason. It's because the financial performance just goes. Whoosh. What they don't like is really sophisticated critical chain. You are perfectly allowed, well, not sophisticated, true critical chain. You must, when you start a task and you look at it, you know, it was planned by 8 months ago when you didn't know exactly what was to be done, and here it arrives, yeah, boom. If it was planned to be 2 weeks and it's going to take you 6, immediately you put up your hand and say, sorry, my estimate right now is 6. Forget, you know, now that I know exactly what I have to do, right? When that goes up the financial system, it goes beep, the project is going to go up in price. So usually you get the CFO coming in and saying, I'm sorry, but it's very manageable because the overall results are good. In some other environments, it's a lot more difficult to manage that dilemma, but in project management, it's really a problem.
Well, just a general question as well. Probably in your experience, and I guess there's no specific, not specifically to any of these projects, but how much of the successes or the gains do you attribute to the implementation of the TOC principles versus just getting back to basics? Because I noticed that a lot of the things, you know, that was generally touched on were actually almost, you could argue that a lot of it is actually just people not doing the basic things correctly.
For these sorts of things, project management, which could not be done by hand, about 50-50. You can get, yeah, you can get 50-50. That's to say, if you really want to squeeze out the opportunities to really get to high speed, you're going to have to use a fever chart with all its power. But a lot of people are doing very similar things just by freezing projects and making sure that stuff flows through without identifying critical chain and stuff like that. It works, and it gives you about half the results.
Anybody else? Thank you, Philip. This is now.
Thank you very much.